Welcome to The Explainer. Every life is a story, but some, they feel like a straight-up epic movie. And today's story is one of those. It's about a man's intense, high-stakes battle with ambition, with failure, and with that search for a deeper meaning that money just can't buy. So let's dive right in. Every great film has a hero with one single powerful motivation, right? For our protagonist, these words right here, this was it. I want to conquer this. I want to be the best at this. And this wasn't some casual wish. This was the code that ran his entire life. And look, this drive wasn't for an audience. It wasn't for anybody else's approval. It was this deep, internal, all-consuming need to get to the absolute peak of whatever field he stepped into. He had to conquer it for himself. And his resume, it reads like a blockbuster movie montage. I mean, in sports, he was the #1 athlete in his state. In the business world, he's at a table talking about a potential $200 billion deal. He even trained to join a professional gambling team that, well, their whole mission is to go to Vegas and torch the place. In every single arena, he was aiming for that final boss level. But you know how it goes in every great hero's story. There's always that turning point where their greatest strength becomes their fatal flaw. For him, that relentless drive to conquer, well, it became an idol. And the stage for his downfall was going to be the high-stakes world of trading. He didn't just see the market as, a bunch of charts and numbers. Oh no. To him, it was the ultimate opponent. It was the final beast that had to be slain. This was a personal challenge, a final battle to prove, once and for all, that he was the best. But the real enemy he was up against wasn't on the screen. It was actually inside his own mind. He ran headfirst into this wall called decision fatigue. It's that point where your brain's gas tank just completely runs empty from making too many choices. And for somebody who's wired to conquer, someone who is always on, this stuff is absolute kryptonite. His relentless need to win meant he never took his foot off the gas, and he was pushing his mind to the breaking point day after day. And this slide, it perfectly scripts out his recurring tragedy. He'd start out strong, just racking up thousands in profits. But for him, that success just fueled the desire to conquer more and to do it faster. So he'd up his leverage, make bigger and bigger bets, which of course led to more and more decisions, draining that mental gas tank. And that's the critical moment. When that decision fatigue hit, his brain would just shut down. He'd stop making choices. He'd just hold on to a losing trade until everything was gone. And this happened over and over again. This repeated cycle of boom and bust, this wasn't just a financial problem, it was a spiritual crisis. The constant failure, it shook the very foundations of his faith. He basically treated the market like a battlefield, and he brought his faith right into the trenches with him. I mean, he was actively praying for God to jump in, to protect his trades, to help him win his war. But the losses just kept coming, and with every single blown account, he felt abandoned. In his mind, the failure wasn't just on him. It was a sign that God wasn't protecting him, and that caused this profound damage to his faith. They say it's only when you hit rock bottom that you can finally see the ground clearly, and after losing absolutely everything, he was forced to confront the true villain of his story. And here it is. This is the powerful plot twist. The enemy was never the market. It wasn't a lack of skill. His idol, the very thing that he worshipped and the thing that was destroying him, was the pursuit of being the best version of himself, the exact thing the world tells all of us we should be striving for. He had this incredible realization that all his gifts, his amazing drive, his intelligence, they were all being poured into a goal that was just temporary. He was using his God-given talents to build this giant monument to an idol, his own ambition, that was ultimately just going to turn to dust. So this shift in perspective, this is really the final act of his story. And it's not about giving up. It's about changing the entire game he was playing. He started to see his life as two completely different ladders. See, his whole life, he'd been frantically scrambling up the earth ladder, trying to conquer worldly things. But now he saw a totally different path, the heaven ladder, one that's focused not on conquering, but on spiritual purpose and things that have eternal value. So what does that new ladder even look like in real life? Well, the focus shifted from mastering markets to investing in the things that are actually gonna last. The new treasures were his family, his kids, and his spiritual walk. These were the things with true eternal value. And with this totally new perspective, everything changed. Making money, it just became a tool. It wasn't his identity anymore. He was finally free from that crippling pressure to conquer everything, because his value was no longer tied to his daily wins and losses. His identity was secure. This whole journey, it really does feel like a movie. But it leaves us with a very real question to think about in the credits of our own lives. At the end of the day, what ladder are you climbing? And what treasures are you storing up?